Day.
Is it a record breaker today? It feels like a record breaker. I
Yeah,
don't know. This is the
it's the
worst news show in the world.
it's the kind yeah, it's the kind of
Not
day
for the
where
weather.
it's the kind of day where it's too hot to go outside, and
Uh-huh.
so the best thing to do, I think,
Uh-huh.
is
Yes.
to stay in
Uh-huh.
and watch some films. See, bringing it back around, bringing it back around to what we're doing here right now.
Some pretty exciting movies today.
Yeah,
What do we have on? We have two screenings. Um, oh gosh, I should have
I
this up in front of me, but I don't.
I got it.
You got it.
We've got our first screening is Douglas Cardinal, Architect of the Future, alongside with My People's Journey from Christine Poker, and Down to the Wood from Kelly Davis. So both of those are films from our archive
And that's
that we're
presented
really
by
excited.
Button and Associates
Yes,
law firm.
yes. Thank you very much to Button and Associates for doing that screening. And our second screening is Tommy, a family portrait from Mary Sexton about her brother, the legendary comedian, Newfoundland comedian Tommy Sexton, and Slingshot from Robin Haig, who we're going to be speaking to today on this edition of the Nickel Fireside Chats. Here in my winter chalet, and
Can we
yeah.
introduce ourselves? Do people know us? Do
Oh,
people know us?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, my name is Devin Shears. I'm the director of programming and communications.
Oh no, I did. Hi, my name is Ali Glean. I'm the executive director. This is the best show ever.
It's a really good program. We're really excited to come at you live every day, 1 p.m. on Facebook, to talk to filmmakers, take a peek inside their process. You know, ask your burning questions. I have my eyes on the chat, so if anyone's watching and has any questions, I encourage them to type it out in the chat, and I will pass it along. But without further ado, I have some questions myself for the director of Slingshot, Robin Haig. Robin, if you could reveal yourself to us, that would be fabulous.
Hi there.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Yes.
Yes. I forgot to ask before we start. Where are you based out of right now? Where are you currently holding up?
So I am joining you guys from the Scottish Highlands, up near the Isle of Skye.
Mm.
And it's also a pretty nice day here today as well, but not quite as hot as where it is with you. I've still got a jumper on.
Yes. Well, it's definitely a little warm here today, but like I said, you know, a perfect day to stay in and watch some films. First of all, love your film. So excited to have be sharing it with our audience today. And I just have some questions I want to ask. The first, I just kind of want to start off with the character of Kath, who's remind me the name of the actress who played her.
Kath is played by the fabulous Scottish actress Sharon Small.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And before we go over any further, I'd also
Sure.
just like to say thank you so much to Nickel Independent Film Festival for selecting Slingshot. And we're absolutely stoked because it's our first ever festival in Canada. Yay!
Well, it was an easy decision. It's a beautiful film. We're so excited to be sharing it. But about Kath, where did she come from as a character? Did the film sort of like, when developing the idea or developing the script, did it kind of start with the character, or how did it all kind of get rolling?
Well, it started with a character and an image. So I was speaking to a woman in my community. So I live in a fairly small rural community, and I was just chatting with somebody that I knew one day, and she told me a story she told me that she liked to sit in her car on her lunch break and eat a family-sized pack of jelly babies with their windows up. And if anybody came near her, she would look at them like, don't even come and talk to me. And I just thought that this was such a fabulous image. Like, why would somebody want to sit in their car with their windows up, locked out from the world around them, and eat a whole packet of jelly babies? But I also love the idea of the colors of the jelly babies. And I was working with the same creative team that I worked with for my previous short film, which is called Hula. So I was writing again with the two writers, Mandy Lee and Claire Nickel, and producer Lindsay McGee. And we were just brainstorming new ideas, and I told them about this anecdote that this woman had told me. And yeah, we all loved it, and we all were intrigued about who this woman was and why she would do this, and we just kind of investigated that. And we also, so that was like our core idea, but then we also took our own life experiences to the table. We're all different ages and have trod different paths, and we just developed the character from there.
That's great. Yeah, she's such a fascinating character. And it's also such a beautiful location. I'm just curious, could you talk a little bit about where you shot it? If is it like an old Scottish castle or something?
Yeah, sure. So, well, just to go back to the character of Kath, if the person who told me that anecdote is listening to this interview today, she should know that Kath is very much a fictitious character and very far removed from the person who inspired it, but she was our original inspiration. And Sharon Small brought so much to that character. She's brilliant. All her little accents and little kind of quirky humors. She was fabulous to work with. And yeah, she just made that character Kath just come right off the page.
Yeah, it's a quiet part. She doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but she expresses so much. One of especially like one thing I was really getting from the film is about, it's sort of looking back at how we shape like national identity and national histories and stuff like that. It ends. I love the ending dedication, dedicated to all the forgotten warrior queens.
Yes.
Oh, could you speak on that a little bit? I just like I loved that little note at the end.
Yeah, sure. So I think when we were developing the story of Slingshot, we came up with this idea that there was a legend in the village, and the village was saved from Viking invaders by the Pictish king. And we thought, well, maybe it wasn't the king, maybe it was the queen, but just over history it's been rewritten for like that the man was the victor. And at the same time as we were thinking that, I was actually speaking to a local Viking enthusiast who is a reenactor, and he told me that there was a local Pictish queen who saved the village from Viking invaders, but not many people knew about her, and it was meant to be the king. And so the thing that we were making up and thinking in our heads was the same as a true story, and then we got confused and we didn't know which one came first. But we just felt like often women are either underrepresented, or there's so many fabulous women in history, but their stories aren't told. We also felt like there's many strong women around us, but they're not recognised. So it wasn't just about historical figures, but it was about contemporary figures or people that we knew. So we just wanted to dedicate it to all the forgotten warrior queens, even if that is like you with your inner warrior queen. So it could be anybody, regardless of age or gender. Yeah, it's about unleashing the inner warrior queen within.
Yeah, I love that little tag at the end. I also think it's so interesting that it's all set in the backdrop of this like tourist attraction, basically. Here in Newfoundland, we definitely have a certain image in our in our tourism campaigns of it being, like it's these fabulous blue skies and colorful buildings and green grass. When of course the reality is that it's rain drizzle fog here about 2/3 of the year.
Right, okay.
And yeah. And there's this thing happening in the film where it's it's this sort of narrative being presented by the like this idea of like what Scotland is or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that's true? Do you think that there's maybe an image of Scotland that's like pushed for tourism purposes, but maybe doesn't always tell the whole truth?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the case for any country, really, isn't there? There's like, well, we call it like the tartan shortbread tin version of Scotland. And then there's a different side to Scotland that wouldn't fit on a shortbread tin at all. Or there's also the kind of like the wild, mystical Highlands where we all drink whiskey and wear kilts, and people really want to buy into that, don't they?
Yeah.
But we shot Slingshot was filmed at a castle called Porton Cross, which is about an hour's drive from Glasgow. So it's on the west coast. So I'm on the west coast, so it's just further south from me, but near to Glasgow. So what I would call sort of lowlandish, lowerland Scotland. And there is a castle in my village, a very famous castle. If you saw a picture of it, you'd go, yep, I've seen that posters, I've seen that in shortbread tins, I've seen that on calendars, I've seen it on the TV. And obviously Slingshot was written for that castle because that's the one in my village. And I've made a film here previously, and I'd like to make more work up here. But because the castle is so well known and such a massive tourist attraction, we couldn't get permission to film there because it just wasn't practical to have a film crew and like thousands of tourists passing by. So as an alternative, we found this fabulous castle further down the coast in Porton Cross, and it was perfect. It is very picturesque and rugged with beautiful scenery around it, right opposite the Isle of Arran. And it is closed during the week, so we had like free reign. And also we didn't film inside it, so we were able to like build that ticket booth and put it in front of the castle. And because it was a short film with a smaller production, that just made it a lot more manageable for our scale of production to film at a lesser known castle that was closed during the week.
I'm sorry, my brain is melting. You already said it, but the actress who played Kath.
Yeah, Sharon Small.
Sharon Small. I'm so sorry. Sharon, did she do any sort of slingshot training or anything?
Absolutely, yes. We got a slingshot specialist in to train her, which was a lot of fun. And so we had the help of a group called Clan Ranald, and they are a group of voluntary reenactors, and they do a lot of work with the likes of Outlander. I don't know if you've heard of the TV series Outlander.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
They play all the reenactors, or they play all the warrior roles in that. And they're actually fantastic. They do it voluntarily, and they use the money that they earn to put towards their charity, Clan Ranald. And with it, they've built a fabulous, they've recreated a village, and they do stuff with kids. So they lent us a lot of costumes, and they also taught Sharon how to do the slingshot.
Yeah, she had definitely had a lot of confidence rolling that up. I'm just gonna remind people again, just because we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon. If anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in now. But just before we go, one thing I've been curious about. I'm a filmmaker myself, and figuring out how to sort of, like, I don't know how speaking more broadly, maybe even like outside of the film, going into the pandemic and quarantine, and I've been thinking much about how to adapt in these weird new times to keep telling stories, or like me, are you kind of just laying low right now?
Well, when COVID-19 sort of struck, and just before lockdown in the UK, I was actually working. So I direct a Scottish soap opera called River City, and I was right in the middle of filming that when lockdown happened. And so the stuff that I was filming, we won't really be able to go back to because there will be discontinuity, like teenage house parties with snogging couples ain't going to happen anymore. And so going forward, the show is having to look at how they can write scenes, and this is the same for any continuing drama, how to write scenes that where people are 2 meters apart but don't look like they're 2 meters apart, but there will be no intimacy like holding hands or hugging, or no fight scenes, or that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate that's a massive conversation for continuing drama or anything that's shooting just now. But certainly in the projects that I'm currently developing, we are talking about do we want to have social distancing as a thing? Or are people just going to be so sick of it that they don't want to see it on the screen? And so I guess what I'm hoping is that by the time we shoot these projects that we're developing, that we won't have to have social distancing anymore. We won't have to talk about it, I hope.
Yeah, we're hoping we can be back in the theater at some point as well. But that was going to be my last question. But I didn't know that you directed a soap opera, and now I'm very curious to hear about the differences between working on a project like that and making a film like Slingshot.
I guess one of the main differences for me is just turnaround time. So when you're working on your own project, when you're working on it from development through writing the script, pre-production, raising the funds, right until, you know, delivery, it's about 1.5 years.
Yeah.
So it's very refreshing to come on to a continuing drama, get 2 scripts that are an hour long each, and then have 2 weeks of pre-production. So you have to be ready to shoot in 2 weeks' time, that you get 2 weeks to shoot and a week to edit. So in 5 weeks, you're done, 2 hours of TV. And that is fabulous. I love the challenge, and it's very refreshing to work that quickly.
Yeah, that's so fascinating.
And the other thing actually is that you are working with characters who know themselves. They're working with actors that know their characters better than you do. Whereas when you work on a short film, you've spent ages developing a character, and then you give that character to an actor. So it's kind of cool working with people who just know their characters so well and have maybe been playing that character for like 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so fascinating. And yeah, that's incredible. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your film. Anyone watching, I really like all of our films are free right now. Slingshot is a beautiful short film, and I really do encourage people to go see it. Did you have anything you wanted to add or anything you wanted to
yes, just another big thank you on behalf of myself and the filmmakers involved in making Slingshot. And I guess just to say that we hope that regardless of age or gender, that Slingshot inspires you to release your inner warrior queen.
Yes, I assure everyone it will. I feel confident about it.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Robin. I guess I will, as I did yesterday, well, first of all, encourage people to go to nickelfestival.com to watch this film and all of the others that we are offering today. Tomorrow we have, I should have gotten it up before we started so that I don't forget anything. Tomorrow we have 2 feature films. One is 17 Men, which is a film made here in Newfoundland. That's presented by Coast 101. That's about 17 veterans of World War I and a play that's being made about them. And that's being featured alongside Some Assembly Required, Tyler Natishin's short animated film. And then we also have Closet, which is a strange but very lovely, intimate film from Japan that's being played alongside local filmmaker Naomi Russell's Piece Number 1. So lots of local stuff tomorrow. We're going to be back here at 1 p.m. for a Q&A. And yeah, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. And Elling, do you have anything you wanted to add before we sign off?
I'm good. Thank you, Robin, for joining us today. That was excellent.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow.